From a dog that terrorized a crocodile to a mad scientist who created zombie animals, here are 10 of the craziest animal incidents you'll never believe actually happened. Number 10. Whale versus boat. Some of the craziest animal incidents involve whales attacking boats. This is a horrifying thing that can happen almost anywhere in the seven seas. One of the most recent run-ins with a dangerous whale happened off the Cape of Good Hope, South Africa, when a juvenile whale sprang out of the water and smashed into a yacht. During the attack, the whale managed to break the mast and scare everyone on board, though luckily nobody died. Instead, the whale simply left a bit of blubber and skin on the deck from where it hit. It's been a mystery to scientists why whales sometimes attack boats, especially when they know a vessel is right there. Now though, scientists believe that this type of acrobatic display could be a signal of irritation or aggression. On the other hand, scientists are also saying that whales who do this could just be young and curious, like normal human teenagers. In South Africa, the legal limit you're actually allowed to approach a whale is within 900 feet. So, this particular incident could have been caused by the boat harassing the whale. Then again, maybe the whale was just out to get a bit of attention. Number 9. Cod Eats Human. A lot of the craziest animal incidents involve an animal eating something it probably shouldn't have. For example, take a look at the giant cod that somehow managed to get a human head inside its stomach. This giant cod was found by workers in an Australian fish factory when they sliced the fish open to find an adult male's head rolling around in the stomach of the fish. The fish in question was about 5.5 feet in length and weighed 97 pounds, though surely 4 or 5 of those pounds could be attributed to the human head. This was one of those weird incidents where nobody was really sure how it even happened. While it might seem like the cod ate someone, that probably isn't the case. It was more likely that the cod was just an opportunistic feeder and happened to see this guy's head floating through the water. As for the victim, the New York Post said that it may have been a trawler who had been missing since the previous week after falling overboard in the Pacific Ocean. As for the murderer, a sea life expert from the Stirling University in Scotland claimed that it could have been a crocodile. The crocodile likely chomped the guy up after his body floated close to shore. Then, the cod swam by later and gobbled the man's head into its belly, where it was found by the factory workers about a week later. According to one of the factory workers, there is amazing stuff found in fish all the time, but nobody at the factory has ever seen anything quite as horrific or strange as a human head. Hey, real quick, if you're new to the channel, welcome! Give this video a like and hit that subscribe button for more videos like these. Number 8. Golden Retriever and the Fork. Speaking of animals eating things they shouldn't, check out this next weird incident of the Golden Retriever puppy that needed to undergo an emergency medical procedure after somehow swallowing a fork. Dogs are known for eating some weird stuff, but this really pushes the envelope. The puppy was only 5 months old when he was rushed to the Adelaide Animal Emergency and Referral Centre to receive an emergency endoscopy to find and then get rid of the large utensils stuck inside of him. According to the report from ABC News, the owners of the dog claimed that they walked away from the dinner table only for a second before the puppy jumped on the table and started scarfing things down. Somehow, during its frantic eating frenzy, a fork got mixed in with the real food. It wasn't until a few minutes later that they realised one of the forks was gone and they couldn't find it. Veterinarians at the animal hospital were professionals. They quickly took an X-ray, located the fork, and then safely removed it from the dog's stomach by slowly pulling it out of his throat. The surgery was minimally invasive and low risk. It was a huge success, and the dog was allowed to go home, where he healed and made a full recovery. Number 7. Bat bombers. Another one of the weirdest animal incidents happened during World War II, when a man named Dr. Adams got a wild idea that North American guano bats could be used in the war effort by devastating the enemy soldiers with firebomb attacks. In January of 1942, Dr. Adams actually sent a proposal to the White House about using bats as bombers. And surprisingly, it actually got the green light. The idea of using real bats as soldiers was passed on to the Army Chemical Warfare Service and the Army Air Forces. But of course, this batty idea didn't make it very far. Dr. Adams and a small team of other professionals gathered up a bunch of bats. Incendiary bombs were designed to be attached to their little chests, and on May 21st, 1943, 5 groups of bats fitted with dummy bombs were dropped from 5,000 feet out of a B-25. It was a disaster. Almost none of the bats were able to fly because they hadn't recovered from their hibernation, and they died upon impact. There were a few more tests done, including some experiments where they put bats in ice cube trays and forced them to hibernate. But no matter what they tried, it just didn't seem to work. The the army finally called off the testing in May 29, 1943. Number 6. Seagulls are shy. Seagulls like to stare, especially if you have food, but it turns out that seagulls don't like you staring at them. Scientists have now discovered the secret to keeping your chips safe from scavenging gulls while at the beach or on the boardwalk. All you have to do is stare directly into their eyes. After researchers at the University of Exeter completed their study on gulls and their food thievery, it turned out that the birds were far more likely to rob the food when nobody was looking. They tested this by placing a bag of chips on the ground and then timing how long it took for the herring gulls to approach. The results are going to shock you. On average, it took the gulls 21 seconds longer to steal the bag of chips when one of the researchers was staring directly at them. Of course, not all the gulls were willing to participate in the study. Only 27 out of 74 gulls participated. Out of the 27 guilty gulls that tried to snatch up the chips, only 19 of them completed both tests of looking at them and not looking at them. By completing this study, it seems that most seagulls don't actually want to rob your food, but there are a handful out there who are a bit bolder than their feathered friends. But regardless, it seems that all seagulls are a little bit shy. Number 5. Penguin poop bombs. Here is one of the most ridiculous studies that has probably ever been done. In case you didn't know, penguins are actually able to make bombs out of their poop. This is disgusting, but it's also nature. Penguins are able to shoot their poop bombs at a distance of over 4 feet, and it's absolutely awful to see, and even more awful if you're their target. These tiny aquatic birds basically have a jet propulsion system built into their butts and are able to defecate at twice their own body length. Rather than just leaving this gross fact alone, scientists actually decided to study how and why the birds are able to do this. I won't get into the very gross specifics, but after a handful of studies from between 2005 and 2019, a few key things have been determined. The first important thing is to understand why. It's all about staying tidy. Penguins blast their poop away from them as a way to keep their nests clean. In this way, it's actually less disgusting than you might think. However, the penguin poop bombs actually cause an occupational hazard for those who have to care for them in zoos and aquariums. If the caregivers aren't careful, they often end up with penguin poop bombs straight in the face. Number 4. Python and python. You've probably seen pictures of bloated pythons, and it's common knowledge snakes swallow their prey whole. A manager at the Parry Creek Farm Tourist Resort in Western Australia recently captured photos of a giant python vomiting up another python. This kind of thing is almost never witnessed, and it's crazy that somebody managed to get a photo evidence of it happening. The manager found a python about 13 feet long and decided to take it away from his house. But during the transport, the python began to spit something up. As the man stood and watched, it became clear that the python was puking up another snake. According to Live Science and National Geographic, this isn't as rare as we might think, it's just not seen very often. Snakes, and indeed pythons, will eat absolutely anything they can get their mouths on. When a python wants to eat another python larger than itself, it will force the larger snake's spinal column to bend in a very particular pattern as it eats it, thereby stuffing the larger snake snugly into its belly. In this case, it looked like the smaller snake bit off a bit more than it could swallow, and it barfed its uncomfortable meal right out. Number 3. Rampaging mice. Sure, mice attacks are extremely rare, but that doesn't mean they don't happen. For example, take the bizarre and horrific story of the rampaging mice that have been on a killing spree since the early 2000s. Their victims are albatrosses, massive seabirds that apparently don't have the know-how or the motivation to defend themselves against the mad mice. It apparently happens in clusters all over the Hawaiian archipelago. A seabird researcher named Christopher Jones was working on the Marion Island and Gough Island back in 2017 and 2018 when he stumbled upon 3 adult seabirds that had been brutally injured and 23 that were dead, all from the attacking mice. What's really strange about this is the islands are separated by about 2,500 miles of ocean. This means that all the islands in the area are probably populated by mice which have no natural predators because they were brought there by boat and are an invasive species. As it turns out, the entire population of seabirds that live on these islands are in danger. The mice are starving and they have no problem attacking and killing something 300 times their size. The birds don't know what to do about it. If nothing is done, the Hawaiian archipelago will be full of rats and all the birds will be gone. Number 2. Dog versus crocodile. At the remote Goat Island Lodge deep in the Australian outback, there once lived a dog named Pippa. Pippa was a terrier who got locally famous for her exploits with a saltwater crocodile named Casey. This tiny dog would bark, bully, and often chase the saltwater croc away from the banks of the river near where they both lived. Even the tourists who came through that area were shocked to see the little dog literally terrorizing the crocodile. But it was an adorable story and people applauded Pippa's incredible bravery. But of course, the crocodile eventually had enough. One day, Casey the crocodile struck back, grabbing Pippa with her powerful jaws and dragging the dog into the river in front of terrified visitors. According to the owner of the dog, Pippa had made the silly mistake of approaching the face of the crocodile instead of her tail. And considering Casey was an 11-foot beast of teeth and raw power, it was no surprise that the brave little dog eventually met his end. And while Pippa's owner told the local news stations he was upset by the whole incident, he also said it was bound to happen sooner or later. He couldn't stop Pippa from terrorizing the croc, she simply loved it too much. Number 1. Zombie dogs. I have saved the most chilling animal incident for last, so be prepared for some freaky stuff. A film was released in 1941 showing Soviet scientists reanimating a dismembered dog head inside of a machine. According to the report from the Daily Mail, the machine somehow circulated blood throughout the brain and restored all the basic motor functions of the dog's head. But even though the film was released to the public in 1941, the experiment actually took place in 1928 in an area when all scientists wanted to be like Dr. Frankenstein. The device for keeping the dog's head alive was known as the autojector. It apparently allowed the dog's head to react to light and sound, even though it had no body. This same system of artificial circulation is what we use today in thousands of different operations to keep people living even when their heart isn't pumping and their lungs aren't breathing. It's a crucial piece of scientific technology, and it all started in the 1920s by experimenting on dogs, as horribly unfortunate as that is. As for the zombified head, there is some speculation over whether the video is real or it was just part of a propaganda campaign to make the Soviets appear more frightening. In any case, you now know that the first zombie was a dog. Thanks for watching. What's your craziest animal story? Tell me about it in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.